Well, hi guys, Emma again. Welcome back to the spare room. Next bit, engine components chapter 2, is the cylinder. Basically all it is a bit of 1/2 inch or 12mm rod, a brass rod with a hole in it. It's got a flat file down one side, a 6mm wide, and it's got a piece of 3mm by 12mm flat sweated on the bottom of it, and it's got a soft soldered end cap, so it's pretty straightforward. So because I've now put 12.5mm collet sleeve in the front of the headstock here, if you've seen my video about that, this 1/2 inch brass will no longer go through my headstock, so I've had to cut a piece off and to mark it with a scriber there. And we've got a bit of run out there, which I don't like much. So next job will be to put the 4-jaw chuck on and set this up nice and true. Easy to take shortcuts on things like this. I've set that up pretty accurate. It's within a couple of thou. It's plenty good enough. But my 3-jaw at the moment seems to have a bit of run out, and I don't like that much. I really would like a new 3-jaw chuck, but it's a fairly major expenditure. So next job's to drill and ream this. I started this job yesterday, and as is pretty typical, I've got a 3/8 reamer. I didn't have a drill to go through it to size. So we're going to start with 8mm spot drill, which has got no clearance on it, so it's not going to wander too much. If you're putting something through that wants to be fairly true, it's not a bad idea, it's just to go straight through with it. They're cheap. Once it wears out on the lands, you can just chuck it out. Don't keep it, chuck it out. This one come from China. I think 2 of them were about $12 posted. So next job is to run this reamer through. So next part is this little piece of brass here that sits under the cylinder. It's just 3mm by 12mm, and I filed the ends up nice and neat and square and marked the centre there. And we're tapping that 1/8 Whitworth to match everything else. So it needs to be drilled through number 38, which is 2.58 roughly. Now, clamp this down, guys. This is brass and it will grab. I'm pretty confident in the way my drill's sharpened and that I can hang on to it and the speed of my drill and all that sort of stuff. If you're not, clamp it down, screw it to a bit of wood, something like that. Put a pair of vice grips on it even. You don't want this to disappear out of sight across the room with your fingers as well. So next job is to put nice bevels on the corners. On the top there, we're going to do that. I don't think this is entirely important, it's just cosmetic. But if we draw file that up nicely, we'll pretty quickly end up with a nice bevel on there. It only takes a minute and it makes things look nice. Just take a little bit of care with it, get it both the same on both sides. There we go. Next job is to tap a 1/8 Whitworth hole in there nice and square. So the drill press is probably a really nice way to do that. So that's that job done. So about 10 minutes filing there. I've got a nice flat across there, it sits nice and steady. And that goes on there. The next job is to sweat these together. Don't want too much solder on there. I've just used some plumber's lead solder and some spirits of salts and a little brush. We're going to let them cool down. Don't need very much heat for that. I'd say a MAP gas torch is plenty hot enough. So when that's cooled, I gave it a bit of a wire brush up and I've wired these together with just a bit of soft wire so that they're all together in the right spot. And if we run a bit of flux in there nicely, flux it all up, that shouldn't really need any more solder in there, that should just stick beautifully. So let's do it. We'll let him cool off and have a bit of a look at the other side. Probably way too much solder in it, I think. Slide these off. And that's not a bad job at all. Nothing wrong with that. Bit of a wire brush up. That's pretty sweet. Next job, put a cap in him, which is just a bit of brass that's a tap fit in the end there. And a tiny bit of solder around it. So that's pretty straightforward there. It's only a disc 2mm thick with a chamfer on one side. So that's in there, and I'm just going to solder that in. Tap him in nice and neat and solder him in place. And clean him up with a file. So while I was waiting for the camera to recharge and the washing to finish and the tumble dry sequence so you could hear me again, I've made up this little nut, or started it. Don't have a knurling tool, probably don't really need them. So I've just used a sharp tool and put a series of knurls around there using the index attachment here, which is part of the lathe. Next job's to drill and thread it and part it off, and we've got the retaining nut for the cylinder. So that's another part done. So next job's just a bit of 3.2 1/8 silver steel. Put him in the collet. Give him a clean up on each end. And it's only got 2.5mm thread on one end, which screws into the cylinder there. Any luck? And it's got 10mm of thread on the other end, so we'll turn that round. And put some magic green goo on there, which seems to be good crap. Once we got this started, we can move that back out of the way. Like that. Now fancy nut screws on there. So that's the cylinder done. That's all nicely soldered in there, put together. So I had a bit of a clean up, and we've got the screw in place and the nut in place. They're not Loctited yet because we've still got to drill a hole here for the steam port, and that'll be a separate video completely. So I'm pretty pleased with that. It's all together, and so that's a wrap on video number 18. Thanks for watching, guys, and more soon.